Okay, what if mirrors didn't show you, well, now? Not your reflection as it is, not your current face, not the version of you that exists in this exact moment. What if, instead, every single mirror showed you the past?
So this question comes from a viewer, Zara. And it sounds poetic, doesn't it? Almost harmless, kind of like a nostalgic thought experiment. But here's the thing. This isn't really a question about physics. It's a question about what happens when a fundamental tool for understanding reality just stops working.
Because what Zara's question really gets at is that the instantaneous feedback from a mirror is something we rely on way more than we realize. You take that away, and you don't just change how people get ready in the morning, you fundamentally break their sense of self. Let's trace how that happens, step by devastating step. So here's how we're going to break this down. We're going to trace this idea from a simple, almost unnoticeable scientific fact, all the way through that first moment of weird confusion to a complete societal and psychological breakdown. This is basically a story about how a boring, everyday object is secretly keeping us all sane. To really get why a past-reflecting mirror would be so damaging, we actually have to start with a strange little truth about the ones we use every day. They are already, technically, time machines. You see, because light has a speed limit, every reflection you see is technically from the past. For every foot you stand from the glass, you're seeing a version of yourself that is 1 nanosecond younger. Now, it takes your brain about 30 million nanoseconds just to register a flash of light. So this delay is, well, it's completely imperceptible. We're all living in this tiny, tiny lag, and we just call it now. And we use this now for a lot more than just checking for spinach in our teeth. See, mirrors aren't passive. They are active tools we use to confirm we exist the way we think we do. We check for injuries, we read our own emotional expressions, we correct our posture. It's this constant, instantaneous feedback loop that keeps our self-image stable. So what happens when that loop breaks? Now, this doesn't start with some big, terrifying event. No. The damage, it starts quietly. It begins the very first time you look in the mirror and your reflection doesn't match what your body's doing. So picture this, just a simple 10-second delay. You walk into a room, but the mirror still shows the room is empty. By the time you get to the sink, your reflection is just now walking through the doorway. You move your hand, and the you in the mirror stands perfectly still. It's not a monster, it's not distorted, it's just wrong. And your brain hates that. I mean, think about it. We can tolerate a laggy video call, right? Or a delayed live broadcast. But we have this core unspoken expectation that a mirror is instantaneous. A half-second delay would feel weird. 10 seconds would feel like a glitch in reality. But a delay of years? That's not a glitch. That's a fundamental break. It leads to this strange, almost funny conclusion. In this world, your reflection ghosting you isn't a metaphor. It's a documented phenomena. It's not ignoring you. It just hasn't gotten to you yet. And this deeply personal, destabilizing experience, it wouldn't stay personal for long. When a fundamental tool like this breaks, society doesn't just get used to it. It fractures around the failure. Very, very quickly, mirrors would lose their entire practical purpose. You can't check if you have a cut on your face because the mirror shows your face from yesterday. You can't practice a speech because you can't see your own expressions. Basic stuff like shaving or applying makeup, that becomes an act of faith, based on memory rather than immediate feedback. Mirrors would have to be completely reclassified. They'd stop being tools and become artifacts. You'd start seeing warning labels like this everywhere. They'd be treated like historical documents, interesting to look at, but completely unreliable for information about right now. And this loss of utility would just ripple outwards, causing massive systemic failures. In healthcare, mirrors become a liability. Hospitals, psych wards, they'd have to get rid of them to avoid freaking patients out. In law enforcement, any eyewitness account that involves a reflection would be totally useless. And commerce? Entire industries built on appearance would just collapse, probably replaced by a new market for the only reliable mirrors left, live video feeds. But all of that, the societal adaptation, it's just a symptom. The real disease is what happens inside our heads when we're forced to look at a version of ourselves that no longer exists every single day. Your brain is now processing two completely conflicting data points at the same time. There's the person you feel like you are right now, and then there's the person the mirror insists you were. One is an internal feeling, the other is external, visual proof. And that's the core conflict. That's it. That is the real damage. It creates a psychological split, a permanent disconnect between your internal sense of self and the external evidence of who you used to be.
And this is just devastating for anyone dealing with trauma or depression or even just trying to grow as a person. Imagine you've worked hard to overcome an illness. Every day the mirror shows you when you were sick. Imagine you've finally moved on from a painful breakup. Every day the mirror shows you happy with that person. You never, ever get to escape the archive.
Because no matter how much you change or grow or improve, there's a piece of glass in your home telling you it's not real, that the real you is the one trapped in the past. And this brings us to the final answer to Zara's question. People wouldn't just get used to it. The ultimate cost isn't about inconvenience or some weird nostalgia. It's about stagnation.
You see, humans need that boring, reliable, real-time feedback to evolve. We adjust our behavior, our self-perception, based on what we see now. Without that, our self-image just gets frozen. We can't see ourselves changing, so eventually we start to believe we aren't. Progress becomes invisible.
Why would you go to the gym if the mirror only ever shows you before you started? Why try to become a better person if the mirror only reminds you of a past mistake? Your reflection stops being something you can aspire to, and it becomes an archive that you are trapped by. Civilization wouldn't collapse physically. It would seize up psychologically.
Because it robs you of the most important thing we have, the possibility of becoming someone else tomorrow. It takes away our momentum. We'd become a civilization obsessed with who we were, instead of who we were becoming.
It just goes to show, right? Some of the most dangerous ideas aren't the ones that break the laws of physics. They're the ones that just break our sense of identity. Which makes you wonder, what other poetic questions are out there just quietly waiting to unravel everything?